Hello again, it's Jess or JashiiCorrin, and welcome back for another weekly plan with me video. In today's video, I'm going to be setting up for week 18 in my bullet journal, which is the 29th of April through to the 5th of May. But before we get into that, as per usual, we're just going to have a look at how this week is going. So as you'll remember from my last weekly plan with me, which was a little while ago, I'm sorry. For April, I've been using these Dutch doors, where I have my daily checklists for each day on an individual door. So on each of these I had the 3 priorities I had for the day, a list of all of the things I wanted to get done, 3 successes, which turned into kind of 3 successes or 3 memories, and then my meal log and water tracker down the bottom. For the most part, I have been enjoying this layout quite a lot, but because I have been using it for such a while now, I am starting to get a little bit bored with it. You can see I have a few things to fill in from the past couple of days, and then we're on to today where I haven't actually filled anything in at all, though I promise you I have been doing more than just observing Anzac Day. When I was setting up the Dutch doors for April, I kind of forgot about the last Monday and Tuesday, which, because there's only 2 days out of the 7 that's in a week, usually I'd put these 2 days in the next month, so as part of May's weekly setup. But as we can see, that didn't happen. So what I'm going to be doing today is, instead of setting up a weekly spread that has 7 days, I'm going to be setting up a weekly spread that starts on the 1st and just has the 5 days. Of course, because this one falls in May, I'm going to be putting it after my May monthly setup. So attempting to flick there without giving any spoilers as to what's coming on Sunday. So this is where I'm going to be setting up that layout. Before we get into it, just a reminder that, as per usual, any of the equipment I use in today's video is linked in the description box below. So as you can see, to start off with, I'm just going in with my Faber-Castell artist pen in the M size, and I'm ruling up the grid that I'm going to be using. I don't usually do horizontal layouts, but I'm feeling adventurous, so I'm going to give one a try. So in my last weekly plan with me that I had for you guys, I talked to you guys about the idea of becoming a little bit more conversational in these videos and using them as an opportunity to answer some of your questions and all of that kind of stuff. So if you did have any questions for me that you want me to answer in next week's video, please do drop those in the comments below. I really appreciate getting comments from you guys, whether they just be questions or otherwise. In terms of spacing on this one, because I have 5 rows for each day of the week that I'm logging in here, we have 7 boxes down for each of those, and then the remaining 2 boxes at the top are going to be my header. So now all the horizontal lines are done, I'm going to go in with the vertical ones. I'm going to make sure to start these at this second line down, because I don't want them to actually cut through my header bar. So one thing that I will mention here is that it is a lot easier to do these longer vertical straight lines if you have a better ruler. I do technically have a longer ruler that spans the entire length of my A5, but I found that it has some slight bumps in it, so I end up getting these kind of like imperfections in my lines, and they just bother me. So instead I go in and move the ruler as I need to. Certainly is a first world problem, but just one I thought would be worth mentioning. So the intention I have for this spread is that each of the columns I have, the larger columns, not the smaller ones on the side, they're going to be used to house different things. So I'm going to have one that's for my meal logging, one that's for my events, one that's going to be for my daily doodle, and then the other ones are going to be for different types of tasks. Or should I say the other ones? If you've been here for a while, you'll probably have realized that I really like using a ruler. I find that setting up spreads that have straight line elements is a lot easier for me than the more kind of organic ones where you draw doodles in random positions on the page and then put your daily checklists in amongst those. I really love the aesthetic of that, I just can't get my brain to do it. I always end up thinking that like the spacing isn't right, or I've kind of not given myself enough room, or yah. So my question for you guys would be, are you more of a kind of geometric, straight boxes, lines, regular shapes kind of person? Or do you like your bullet journal spreads to be a bit more organic and freeform? Another thing that you guys have probably noticed me do quite a bit in my videos is that when I come to ruling my lines, I do turn my journal around quite a bit. This is because you shouldn't be trying to draw a straight line on an angle that's uncomfortable. It just means that you've got more of a chance of actually stuffing up the line in general, so it's just better if you turn the journal around. Just as a side note, I'd like to apologise for not having a weekly plan with me video up for you guys last week or the week before. When it came to not last Thursday but the Thursday before that, once I'd gotten home from school and started to contemplate the packing I needed to do, there wasn't really enough time to make a video. And then in terms of last week, I was actually in Melbourne with my family. I did have a really good trip though. It was really worthwhile getting to spend some quality time with my family. For the first 5 days, my mum and I went on an art retreat where we took a workshop on collaging. Now, collaging isn't really something that I do or had ever really given all of that much thought to. But I figured that seeing as this one's going to be a fairly short video, considering it's quite a simple layout, I'd show you guys the pieces that I made while I was away. And again, before I show you, just to really reiterate the fact that I am not good at collaging, it isn't really something I've done before, and so I kind of went in being a bit of a novice at this. And I still consider myself a novice, but anyway. And actually, just before I show you a little bit of background information, so on the 5 or so days that we were there, the first 3 of them were just spent preparing our materials, so painting papers, using rusty objects to make like rust-dyed pieces of paper as well, using black tea to dye papers, and then in terms of the painting, there was just straight painting, stenciling, stamping, that kind of a thing. And then on the last 2 days, we used those painted and prepared papers to make the collages. So, in terms of the first collage, this was the first one that I made. My mum sewed this button on for me with these stitches. This little piece of plastic was something she'd taken for it to be a stencil, and then I stole it and stuck it on my collage. This piece here was an old tea bag that was dried out and then stuck over the top of this black paper. And then the rest of these papers, this one's from an old book. This one you can see it's been painted, but it was also a piece of old book paper, a piece of origami paper, and then some of the paper that our tutor gave us, this one having been painted. So that was my first piece. And then the second one I made, I wanted it to go with that. So we've got this one here. So again, we've got painted papers, the origami paper. This is another piece of that old tea bag. Then when it got to the third one, I decided I didn't want to use black, red, and beige anymore. I wanted to do something a little different. And at this point, the tutor had really told me, oh, you need to make sure that your focus point is really, really obvious. And because I'm a bit of a dick, I decided that the easiest way to make that really obvious is to put a giant black box around it. And then to make it more obvious, I sewed a star into it too. I'm not a stitcher, so this little star I'm actually pretty proud of. I did a couple more of those black and red ones so that they could go together. And then the last piece I made was this one. And this one's probably my favorite. I really like this rusting piece that I did here, which was just put onto some paper. And then this one here that kind of looks like matches was using a chromatography technique. So putting a line of the Tombow dual brush marker down the bottom of the paper and then putting it in water so it would soak up the page and get this kind of effect at the top. Not really journaling related, just a little bit of an aside, but thought you might want to see what I did. Coming back to the spread though, it's time to add a bit of colour. So as usual, I'm going to go in with my Tombow dual brush markers to do that. And then to add in the initials and numbers for each day of the week, we're just using the Pitt Artist pen again. Just using this book here to prop my hand up so that it's easier to write along this edge. And then to write out week 18 along the top, I'm just going to use the bullet tip from each of the tombos. Ooh, I hate it. And of course, now that I've done it, I've decided I don't like that, so I'm going to go over it with some of this gold washi tape, which isn't transparent at all, so it won't actually show any of that through. I'm just pulling it up because I've decided I actually want that top black line to be visible. And to finish off, I'm just going to go and add in the few events that I know I do have next week. So I know that on Wednesday we have our staff briefing. On Thursday we have the Year 9 meeting. On Friday we have the Science Department lunch. And on Wednesday I'll probably have my bullet journal evening with my friend. There we go. So we have a space for my daily doodle, space for the events that happen on that day, 2 columns dedicated for my work tasks, because I know that's usually what I have the most of, 1 column for any personal or home related tasks, and then a section on the side here for my meal tracker and water log. Thank you for watching. If you liked today's video, please do make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and wanted to, feel free to subscribe to my channel to see the videos I release every Thursday and Sunday. I'll be back again on Sunday with my May plan with me. And so until next time, bye!